Hello everybody and welcome to a new lag poker video. Today I'm going to review 5 hands that I played yesterday during the stream and I think you may find them interesting. First of all, yes, I started streaming in English. You can find me on Twitch with the nickname Lag Poker TV. I knew a lot of guys were waiting for that, so please follow, it means a lot. So you know where to find me, I will also put the link in the description. These 5 hands were played versus recreational players and I think they show some things that I feel like a lot of players at the microstakes are missing, so I really hope you may find them helpful. Let's start from the first. So in the very first hand we have 7-9 off and the small blind opens and it's our turn to act. I would say this is already the first point where I see a lot of mistakes and misconceptions. 7-9 off is obviously a terrible hand. We normally don't want to play this. But, you know, when we are playing versus a recreational player, we want to widen our ranges, especially when we are in position, like in this case. So even if this hand could be a fold, obviously, in a standard situation, I like here to call because we want to take this edge. We really want to play with them as much as we can, especially in position and especially when they have a wide range. So here, I don't mind calling. I'm not in love with the 3-bet because if we 3-bet, he's probably just gonna fold. Call, sorry, too much, given he's a recreational player and obviously 7-9 off is not the kind of hand we want to play with in a big pot, usually, at least not before seeing the flop. So the flop hits 10-5-6, we just have a gut shot, villain bet, and here I chose to raise. A lot of players here just choose to call, but I think is probably in this scenario a mistake for a couple of reasons. First of all, we make ourselves uh, we give ourselves less chances to win the spot because by raising now he can fold now and that's nice. But even when he doesn't fold, we're gonna have some extra opportunity to win the pot later in the hand. But also, I would say that when you have a hand like this and we actually hit, when we hit our 8, and spoiler, we will hit our 8, we really want the pot to be already big because if we just call and we hit the 8, it's gonna be very difficult to build a pot or at least to get this guy to get all the money in. He will slow down, he will be scared, and it's gonna be a mess to maximize this value. So when you have a draw, um, especially some draw like this, I usually prefer to play it aggressively to give myself extra chances to win and also to hit a bigger pot, to win a bigger pot when we are lucky and get it in. But hitting my draw is not my plan A, is my plan B. And I think like a lot of players here just focus too much on trying to hit the straight and not enough to on trying to win this pot, which I think is really important. This guy calls, we hit our 8, that's nice. It checks and here we bomb it. It's important to bet big here because we really want to I mean, if you bet call the flop, I don't think he's gonna fold a lot on the 8 on the turn. He will fold up. He may fold more on other cards. A recreational player expect he's gonna fold a lot on overcards on the 10 eventually, but I don't think he's gonna fold much on the 8 of clubs. So the bigger we bet, the better it is. The river may be a scare card, and he may want to fold there on the river. We don't want that to happen. Or when it happens, we want to be able to take the maximum before that. I mean. So I go with this size. Maybe I could have bet even a bit bigger, something like pot or a bit or a small overbet, but that's fine. That's what I happen to do in game, and it's good that I bet big. He calls and the 4 hits. The 4 is obviously not a good card, not for my hand because I obviously have the nut, but because it's gonna be more difficult for us to get value usually. Because of course now there are 4 of us right there and it's gonna be a bit difficult. I still shove here because I think um, he may he may realize that the pot is quite big compared to his deck, and so he may find excuses to make a call when he has a small overpair, which an overpair, which I think is a decent part of his range, or a top pair even. And the bigger the pot is, the easier it is for him to find those kind of excuses. So I don't mind. Maybe by betting a bit smaller, we are sure we're gonna get paid more often. But in general, I prefer this sizing because I feel like he may, again, he may find excuses to make this call no matter what. And he does call with pocket jacks. And now imagine how difficult it would have been to win his stack if we just call the flop. We call the flop, 8 it, maybe he checks and starts check calling, not nice. Maybe bets and we can raise, of course, and it's probably not gonna fold, but we the pot on the river is going to be much smaller and it's going to be more difficult for us to get the stacks in. So yeah, I think this is a very important concept. Play your draws aggressively. You don't want to hit draws, you want to win pots. It's very different. And when you hit a draw, you want to win big. You don't want to win small. Also very important. Let's move to the next hand. We have 7-8 suited. This guy opens with 3-bet in position. Everybody folds. Big blind call calls. No info on this guy. When this happens, he's probably a recreational player. And the UTG folds. We are heads up. And he leads out for half the pot. So I would say that at this point, his range is, I mean, it can have many things. I don't think much he has aces and kings because I would say that if he chose to slow play pre-flop aces and kings, this kind of players usually try to play tricky even post-flop, so he will probably start check calling with a hand like that. I don't think he has a random hand like I don't know 10 jack off, simply because it's quite uncommon that they do this kind of line if they're not maniacs. Um, he may sometimes have something like pocket eights, pocket fives, stuff like this, but or pocketers obviously. But also that I think most of these players are just going to try to check and trap me. What I think he has a lot is probably something like pairs which are vulnerable, like 8x, 7s, 6s. Of course, any pairs like 9s, 10s, jacks, stuff like this. I don't think he also has much ace, king, ace, queen play this way. It's possible, but I don't think it's very frequent. And here I chose to call. Of course, versus the range we gave him, we are not super happy, but you know we still have a top pair. We still have a decent amount of backdoor equity. We have position, so I think calling here is quite a must. Turn is the ace, and he checks. Um, if he if he was random bluffing, so if on the flop he really was one of those guys who flop bet here with 10 jack off, I think he probably would have kept betting on the ace. The ace is a decent card for him to bluff on his eyes, so I think if he was bluffing on the flop, he would continue doing it here. If he had something like his king, his queen, I think he probably continues, usually. Maybe wrong, of course, but I think a decent part of the times he just continues. What I think he checks a lot here is all the kind of mid-value we spoke about, like some 8x, with 9, for example, that we block. 9s, 10s, maybe something like 7s and 6s, who knows. Now, I think if I check back here, which is maybe the most standard line because we have a mid-value end, I think we're going to lose this hand more often than not. Either he's going to hit something on the river, either he is going to be able to bluff us efficiently, and or either simply he's already ahead. He may have 9s, 10s, stuff like this, and of course we are not gonna win with that. So what I realized here is that my chances of winning this hand at showdown, if it goes check here, if I check back here, are very small, and because of that, I think it was better here to start bluffing this hand. The ace is a decent scare card for all his mid value, part of which beats me. He could have a flush draw, but again, if he had a flush draw, I think he would decent. I mean, he would frequently continue firing on the ace on the turn, unless he has exactly something like ace 10 of hearts. But yeah, I mean, given that his range is so condensed in this kind of mid value, and since I lose to a lot of it, I think here bluffing is slightly better. Here I bet, and he just calls. Notice that I didn't bet big. Why didn't I bet big? Because I want to have a decent shove on the river. In the previous pot, I bet huge because I wanted him to be short on the river compared to the pot. Here I bet smaller because I want him to be deeper on the river compared to the pot because I want to be able to have a shove with high pressure on my side. And he calls and the jack hits. I mean, the jack is good only if he has exactly pocket jacks, which is a possibility, but I would say it's an unlikely possibility. Um, he checks, and here I just to go on with my shove. Of course, the jack is a blank card, and of course, if he's a thinking player, he would realize that nothing changed, and if he had 9 stands and wanted to bluff catch me, he could bluff catch me even here. Problem is, he's a recreational player, and he probably doesn't think hands like we do. He probably doesn't have a good idea of what my range is, and he's going to do a lot of emotional decisions on this river. So while a regular may think, okay, the jack is a blank, all draws are busted, I'm gonna bluff catch with 9 stands, whatever, I think that um, a recreational player is usually gonna think, oh my god, another overcard, now I have to fold. And that's probably what he did because he just folded here. Maybe he had a busted flush draw, so no, who knows? But yeah, I think it's very important also to realize when our showdown value is so thin. I would say we should be able to turn our hand into bluffs and attack opponents who probably have some kind of mid-value hand, which could be easily better than ours. And that's something a lot of players at the microstakes miss. A lot of players here just are happy with going to showdown with this hand, even though they are either not arriving to showdown or losing at showdown. So yeah, this kind of hands also have a big impact on your red line if you're interested in this stuff. Queen suited. Let's go to the hand we lost. The button opens. We go for the 3-bet. He calls. Flop is this. Queen 8 jack. I think a lot of people here just auto c-bet while I think it's not necessarily the case here versus this guy. First of all, he's short, so if turn and river we're gonna like our hand, it's gonna be very easy for us to build a pot and get it in. And our hand is also quite solid. It didn't happen in this pot because this pot was terrible in the runout, but in general, we will not have that many bad runouts. The spade is fine on the turn, the 9 is fine, of course. The 10 is not that great, but not even that terrible. So I would say that we can safely take a check back on his side and still be happy with our hand many times on the turn. And checking gives him the opportunity to do something silly. If he has nothing, he may start firing because he sees us weak. So I like the check when he's short and we have a solid hand like this. Do not auto c-bet just because we have a top pair and decent equity. We check and he checks back. When he checks back, I think he doesn't have a pure bluff usually. He may, of course, he may have just a hand with just checks and give ups or whatever. But I think more often than not, he's going to have some kind of mid value. I don't think he has anything awesome. I don't think he has a straight. I don't think he has uh, 2 pair plus. Probably not even a queen. So at this moment of the hand, when he checks back, I'm quite confident I have the best hand. But the turn is unluckily a king. The king is pretty bad because now it's gonna be difficult for us to get value, first of all, from weaker hands. And also, he may have a king, simply. So it's a bad card for many reasons. Here I went for a check, but I don't like the check. I think versus a recreational player, it may be more profitable to just place a block bet. They're not gonna raise enough as a bluff, and we deny them the chance to bluff me because maybe if he sees me check twice, he will start bluffing with something like pocket trees, and I'm gonna have a very tough time here in this case. But we don't know the guy, so I would say it's probably better to just place a small block bet here. It works better for many reasons. If he folds, it's fine. If he calls, we may still be ahead and we still have equity, so it would be nice. It sucks a bit when he get a shove, then we will reevaluate to call or not. Maybe we should still call if he shoves, given how short he is. But yeah, I think in general the small bet, it's probably the best line here. He bets half pot. not the size I would like to see, because if he shoved, of course I would be happier to call because he would have more draws probably. When he bets his size, looks a lot like a value bet, and I think it's still too early to fold. A queen may be good for us on the river. The nine, of course, is. He may just give up whatever random thing is doing sometimes. So I think we cannot fold to this size on the turn still. The river is a 10. Uh, it's not a good card, actually. We check, he shoves. He doesn't have many bluffs, unless he's bluffing exactly what I said before, something like pocket trees. Now we also lose to some two pairs, which he may well overplay since he's a recreational player. And of course he can have any ace, any nine, and the 10 is such a bad card for these reasons. So I think here we should just fold. Doesn't matter if we have two pair, the board is too ugly, and his bluffing range too narrow to call here. Let's move on to this hand. We have queen jack off. We isolate on a limper, and this guy calls. We have a decent board. His range is super wide, of course, so I think I'm c-betting any two cards on this board. He calls. When he calls, of course, he probably doesn't have a completely random hand. He probably doesn't have 8, 9 off. He's going to have overpairs, sometimes ace high, flush draws, straight draws, stuff like this. Maybe sometimes something like king queen, who knows. Um, the ace hits, he checks. On this ace, I chose to continue firing. It's a decent card, not a no-son card. I think he's gonna fold now things like overcards if he has still some left, not many for sure. He may be folding an overpair to the fives, um, if not now on the river. And also we have decent blockers for clubs and spades. So because of this, I think applying pressure on a recreational with a wide range may be a good idea on this turn. My plan is to keep firing on a decent amount of rivers. I bet he calls. Again, I left myself some minor river size to be able to get some fold equity, hopefully. The river is the three of clubs though, and here I chose to give up. I think a lot of people here just shove because they have the club and because the board now is scary. But I think, it could be a mistake simply because if you think about his range, it doesn't have that many hands that he could turn to fold river. Maybe some overpair to the fives again, maybe. But flush draws got there, gut shots got there. If he has something like pocket raise, now he has a full house. And if he had the ace, is he really folding? Maybe. Recreational players do not like to fold the ace, especially when they're kind of short. So in this spot, I don't think I have a lot of fold equity versus his range. A little part of it is gonna fold, of course. I'm gonna hate this river, but I think this river is too bad because a lot of other things in his range got there, and I think we should just give up, given the scenario. And yeah, days 4, but whatever. 4-6, last hand, another hand which I think has some interesting concepts. We open and the big blind calls. Is that recreational? Any choice on the flop is fine. We can c-bet, we can check call, we can check raise. Anything goes apart from check folding. So here I went for the bet and he calls. Turn is a 7. Here I went for a big bet, which I don't like, to be honest. I don't think I have a lot of full equity in general on a board like this, on a round like this. And if I really want to bet, I think it's just better to place a small bet as a block bet again, trying to realize our equity on the river for a fair price. I don't think I want to build a pot this big now. Also, we need to be concerned sometimes of the bet cooler flush versus flush when we hit it. So it's another good idea to keep the pot a bit small. And yeah, so I'd rather bet small here. I think it was a small mistake to bet big here, even if not terrible given the amount of equity we have, but I don't like it. He calls, river is the 4, and I checked. And he bets half pot. Now, I think that a lot of players here are going to find excuses to make the call, like we have showdown value now, we block 5-6, and so on, so on, so on. But I think it's usually a mistake for a couple of reasons. First, it's true that we block the 5-6, but I don't think he's ever going to play the 5-6 this way anyway. I think if he had 5-6, he would probably bet bigger on the river. In addition to this, um, I would say that uh, calling here is obviously a bluff catch. But in order for a bluff catch to be successful, he needs to be bluffing. And I don't think he's bluffing enough. Of course, we block some bluffs as well, which is not good, of course. But also, I would say that this size he used is rarely used as a bluff. I would say more often than not, when a recreational player is going to bet half pot into you on the river, it's going to be some kind of team value bet. Probably a king in this case. And that's also the very reason why I didn't shove here, because rather than calling, I prefer shoving in general here, turning my hand into bluff. The problem is that this guy is so short that even if he had a king, and even if he would be unhappy to see me shoving, I think again, given he is short, he would try to find excuses to make that call. And of course, it would make my shove bad. And because of that, I just folded here. His bluffing range is not big enough. We're not sure he's gonna bet fold, wherever he may plan to bet fold in the very principle. So yeah, I just prefer to fold here, and I think do not bluff catching when it's quite obvious your opponent doesn't have a bluff. I think is something really important and something a lot of people still do, finding excuses like blockers and stuff like this. But if your opponent is not bluffing, bluff catching is not right. And that was it. I hope you liked this video. Thanks for watching, and please follow me on Twitch, like Poker TV. You can also go back and see the session I just picked some hands from. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.